Shalom. Call hello, Yahweh Bashim Abishai, Bashim Brakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers that do this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that is scattered among the four corners of the earth, mixed in with the heathen nations that look like the heathen nations, that be like unto the speckled bird. And to the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson. And I watched a video that one of my beloved brothers, the brother Shathia, who became a part of this camp. You know, I knew the brother when he was still in the world, and him and a couple other Jakes, you know, that I used to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with. And it's a strange story how it all came along, because that was just happened to be one day when we were all at the school and everybody there was Jake. It was an all Jake class, both Northern and Southern Kingdom. And these happened to be Jakes that I talked to and trained with on a regular basis, so we were very comfortable talking. So the spirit just came on me to tell everybody the truth. All of them. And out of all those brothers that heard the truth that day, you know, he was the only brother that cleaved unto the truth, eventually showed up to camp, you know, through his own trial and errors, and became a part of the camp, and now he's a pillar of strength, you know, in his truth. And it's been a blessing through through Yahweh Bashim Abishai to watch the brother grow and watch how strong in the spirit he's become. But all that aside, he did a video called "Shh, Don't Tell Nobody, Opioid Death Toll on Edomites," basically. And of course he misspelled the word Edomite purposely. You know, he kind of used the meme, you know, and left out a letter, which was done by design, if you have eyes to see, because this is a highly intelligent, well-educated brother in Esau's food system. So he's, you know, and very well spoken. You know, this brother works in the medical field. I'll leave it at that. So he's got a broad knowledge about this. But basically, you know, this whole opioid thing, and he profiled a video on my sister Lisa Cabrera, which through the spirit, you know, I know that Lisa has watched many of my videos in the past, as I have hers, and we kind of lambacked off each other through the spirit, you know. But I'm gonna use a term that she uses. You know, they can't use their lie IQ to get themselves out of this one, right? Because it turns out that only 22 states report opioid fatalities, and fact is that is way more damaging to them as a people, as a race, than what they're leading on, because they want to keep up that facade that they're something that they're not. So it's saying that 44 million in the last 20 years have died as a result of this opioids, and they're getting all this special treatment that the crack epidemic didn't get. And as Lisa profiled in her video, the mass incarceration of the crack victims, because that's what we're going to call them, because they placed that drug in the neighborhood, took away job and opportunities, and you know, and then that caused the violence. The gang violence got worse. Because I remember when I left home, you know, there's people that in Chicago, the way the gangs roll, you either under the 5 or the 6, and because they use the 5-point star for their gang symbols, or they use the 6-point star for their gang symbols, and all the gangs that are under the 6 kind of roll together. They might have small skirmishes against each other every now and then, but it was never nothing, you know, too serious. because they saved that for all the other gangs that were under the 5. Well, the crack epidemic came and it split all the gangs up. So gangs that have been together for decades were now warring with each other over drug territory. The crack epidemic did a horrible, horrific damage to the so-called black and Latino community, but mainly the Negro community. All right? And it increased the gang violence tenfold in Chicago. All right? And then, you know, and then with the with Amalek's launch of the gangster rap at the same time that this was happening, it just perpetuated the violence that was done against us. So let me grab a quick scripture. All right, because once these scriptures roll, they're gonna come pretty hard. Because this is not gonna be a long video. All right, but I'm gonna start with Joshua 23 and 13. And it reads, Know for certainty that Yahweh your power will no more drive out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until ye perish from off the good land which Yahweh your power have given you. So these other nations have been thorns and snares and laying traps, and E leads the way. All right, he's the number one. He is the number one enemy of the chosen people of the Lord, man. And they did their job well with that whole crack thing. And opioids victims get a whole different law system and everything. They're even allowing them to sue for their addictions. You know, crack cocaine was manufactured in a laboratory and set in the hood, but nobody's allowed to go back and sue anyone or anything of that nature. But see, it all backfired, because what they did was the mass incarceration of all the victims, unlike what they do with the opioid victims, is what stopped the cycle. Because all the people that were addicted to it, you know, were locked up. So the people who were selling it had nobody else to sell it to. The business went away. And it eventually died out. But that's not the case with opioids. See, they're going on their 21st year. And like you said, 4 million deaths. And that's only 21 states reporting. 22 states reporting. So you got 28 other states, man. You know, you got all these other states where the same thing is happening, but it's not being reported. And so that basically that snare, it fell upon them. This is Psalms 69 and verse 22. All right, and it reads, let their table become a snare before them, that they which should have been for their welfare, let it be a trap. So basically, what's happened with E is that same trap that they set for Jake has fallen upon themselves, man. Now they're starting to fill up prisons. You know, they've lost a whole generation. As a matter of fact, they've lost so many Edomites at the childbearing age, is that they're past the point of no return. See, this is how you know we're living in the last days, because E doesn't have enough adults at baby making age for their race to continue. That's how bad it is. But they're not. So this is why they're being so violent and they're so desperate, and eventually they're gonna move. They're gonna move on Jake and everyone, and live out their the prophecy, and their they're to become that Revelation 6 and 4, to take peace from the earth, man. They're gonna do that with great violence here in Babylon and abroad. You know, it's gonna get bad and never stop. Once that ball gets rolling, man. Okay, let's grab the book of Sirach 27 and 26. Let's go there. And it reads, whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that setteth a trap shall be taken therein. So he is falling in his own trap. Okay? His own trap. Because another reason why they targeted Jake with their trap is because you had all these private prisons that sprung up all over the place. So it's like the rap music, the crack, and the lyrics in the music, which was controlled and pushed by E, all served a purpose to destroy Jake. And the truth be said, the Jakes that were destroyed were the 2/3 anyway. All right? They got their just punishment, which they deserved. But it affected everybody else too. And now, look at what's happening to E. Their biggest population are young children and old people. All right? And then E don't have a lot of children. Not like Jacob does. So, like I've said before in past videos, what that means is that even if the end wasn't to happen for another 20 years or so, which is impossible, that would never happen. E doesn't have the numbers to continue to occupy positions of power, to continue to be the police officers, to continue to be the firemen, firewomen, to continue to be the lawyers and the judges, to continue to be the sheriffs, to continue to be mayors and politicians and all these things that control policy. E will lose control over everything. And they're always talking about how in 20 years they're going to be, or in 10 years, they say 2030, they're going to be a minority. They're already the minority. They've been the minority for a long time. They've been lying about Jake with that lie IQ, talking about 13% of the population. With all the babies that Jake have? Are you kidding me? Especially Jake was having children, so that for the last 8 generations, even with all the teenage and young pregnancies, actually, which is actually the age you're supposed to be having children, you know, but this world is set apart from the way of the Bible, and people are waiting much longer to have children. But in the ancient world, by the time you were 25, you already had a big family and were done having children, because the average woman was started having children at 14, 15 years old. I even had someone leave a message on the comment board how their grandmother was married at 13 and ended up having 13 children and lived to be old and stayed with her husband the entire time. That was natural, righteous, and a good thing. But times are not like that. And why? Because Job 9:24, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right? And they changed the times, dates, rules, regulations. They turned the truth of the Lord upside down. Thus saith the scripture. So let's finish with the reading of Psalms 109. And I'm going to read, and you can apply this to the heathen, but mainly to E. All right, because this is really to them. I'm going to read verse 1 and 2 and jump down to 9 and just keep reading all the way to like 20. And it reads, hold not thy peace, O power of my praise, which is Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. For the mouth of the wicked and the mouth of the deceitful are open against me. They have spoken against me with a lying tongue. Jumping down to verse 9. Let his children be fatherless and his wife a widow. All right. And that's like that one scripture that says that their women won't weep for them. I think that's Job 27:15. Because true be said, the E women are just as tired of their men as the rest of the world is. That's why so many of them are getting with Jake and other heathens. All right. Verse 10. Let his children be continually vagabonds. And they are. E is a vagabond that's running from justice because they're in every place where they're not supposed to be. It said, vagabonds and beg, and let them seek their bread also out of their desolate places. A lot of E, as a matter of fact, they make up the majority of people that's on welfare here in America. You never know that, though, watching Fox and CNN. All right? Let the extortioner catch all that he hath, and let the strangers spoil his labor. And you can see all these nations that are coming up against E and stopping his plans on a world scale, politically, geopolitically. Let there be none to extend mercy unto him, neither let there be any to favor his fatherless children. And you can see the nations starting to come together. And that act like when they killed Soleimani, they brought their enemies together. They brought Elam and Ishmael together, who makes up the so-called Arabs. All right. Let his posterity be cut off, in the generation following, let their name be blotted out. So that's going to come when Obadiah comes, in the day of Obadiah, because they got to serve that vigorous 1,000-year punishment, because the Bible says give unto them double. So he's got to get double, man. All right, because that lamentation is at hand. Lamentation, the 4th chapter, 21 and 22. The Lord is visiting them. And this is just the beginning. Let the iniquity of their fathers be remembered with Yahweh, and let not the sin of his mother be blotted out. All right. So their sin is ever before them and being remembered. That's why anytime you bring up history, they call it hate speech. You don't have to say anything derogatory. You just bring up their history and what they've done. And that's hate speech. Let them be before Yahweh continually, that they may be cut off, that he may be cut off the memory of them from the earth. And once again, Obadiah, can't wait till it happens, man. Because he hath remembered not to show mercy, but persecuted the poor and the needy man, that he might even slay the brokenhearted. And like it says, he would I think that's James 2 and 13. Let's see, let me grab that real quick. They will receive no mercy who showed no mercy, or something to that effect. Yeah, here we go. James 2 and 13. For he shall have judgment without mercy that have showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. All right. So they're going to get continual punishment for the rest of their existence from this point forward. Because E is suffering, man. They're not living. A lot of these E that like these $1 million condos and homes, a lot of these people are struggling, man. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul. All right. Remember, the super wealthy have left Chicago. These are the low-level wealthy people, and first-class citizens, as you could call them, who basically are living paycheck to paycheck like everybody else. They just make more than everyone else. But, you know, the more you make, the more you buy, the more you own, the more debt, etc., etc. So they're struggling, man. Like you said, you know, brothers have seen people in the welfare office and going to get WIC and stuff like that, and pulling up in Mercedes and Mercedes trucks and Range Rovers. So they having a hard time, man. Back to Psalms 109. Finish this out. As he loved cursing, so let it come unto him. As he delighted not in the blessings, so let it be far from him. So no blessings are coming to E. Nothing but destruction, man. As he clothes himself with cursing, because he's constantly accusing and cursing us before our power, the accuser of our brethren, which is Amalek and the rest of his brethren, E. All right. As he clothed himself with cursing, like as with his garment, so let it come into his bowels like water, like oil in his bones. Let it be unto him as a garment which covereth him, and for a girdle wherewith he is girded continually. So he's got hey, how many times have you heard me say E is wearing the curses like a coat now, man? The curses are falling upon E and the heathen, man. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Abashai, Ba'ashem Wakak Wadash, Wa Abba Babal. Shalom.